legendary level is cheated to fame, a huge player gets desperate, community stars turning out to be frauds. Today we'll go over some more of the biggest cheaters in Geometry Dash. Stick around because the stories get even wilder. Geometry Dash in 2015 was an interesting time. The game was on the verge of a massive update, and there was a heated battle to claim the title of the best player of all time. Andromeda was one of those fighting for the crown. He not only was a talented demon slayer, but had a lot of experience building maps. He created the stupidly difficult level Poltergeist, which had crushing wave gameplay that would make any top player shake in their boots. But Andromeda would verify his beast of a level with ease. He'd then go on to verify what was both the largest mega collab in the game's history and the contender to take the #1 spot on the hardest demons list, the Ultimate Phase. Built by some of the biggest players in the game, it was one of the toughest levels Geometry Dash had ever seen. But Andromeda's achievements wouldn't stop there, as he'd continue to plow through the hardest maps: Cataclysm, Ice Carbon Diablo X, Necropolis. Nothing stood a chance against him, and Andromeda was making huge strides in the battle for the top. But things weren't as they appeared. Just weeks before the 2.0 update would release, Andromeda would drop a bombshell on the community, confessing to hacking every single one of his major achievements, including both Poltergeist and the Ultimate Phase. Being a well-respected player, nobody ever caught wind that Andromeda was up to no good. He was just so good at hiding his tracks. Even today, we're not entirely sure how he cheated, and with footage being lost to time, we may never know. It's speculated that Andromeda recorded his videos by using speed hacks to slow down the game. He would then take footage of his gameplay and speed it back up to normal in a video editor. It was a lot easier to get away with this at the time, as proper cheat detection methods hadn't yet been developed. After he aired his confession video, Andromeda would go on a long redemption tour. He wasn't one to disappoint, and over the next few months, he'd continue playing the game legitimately, and after a very long and very tough grind, he'd managed to beat every single one of his hacked achievements. He had redeemed himself in front of the entire community, but this story doesn't have an entirely happy ending, because as a legit player, he wasn't able to keep up with others in the battle for the top, and he'd soon slink behind. We now shift our focus to the second player fighting for the title of #1. Cyclic is a name that rings a bell to many Geometry Dash players. Like Andromeda, the Korean titan made their own level, Sonic Wave, which when released, essentially just became a harder version of Poltergeist. Same decoration, same game mode, just different colors. But Cyclic's success didn't stop there, as early in his career, he became the first person to beat the level Cataclysm, known for its unique wave gameplay. And with these two maps under his belt, Cyclic was thought to be many steps ahead of the game. But all this would change in August of 2015 when another rising player, Riot, seemingly came out of nowhere and verified the level Bloodbath.
Oh my god!
Bloodbath was a huge deal. Built by the biggest creators in the game, it pushed the difficulty limits of Geometry Dash with new gameplay mechanics like straight flying. Its tough gameplay fit the level's crude name. When Riot verified it after a stupidly hard grind, it blew everything else out of the water. A huge stride for the community, but terrible news for Cyclic, who is now being overtaken by this silly American player. And to keep up, Cyclic would choose to take his level, Sonic Wave, and buff it like crazy. I'm talking even tighter clicks, even harder spam, and an entirely new color scheme to tie it all together. And when he'd verify it, he'd take back his throne and it would be his turn to wow the community. But the changes he'd make to Sonic Wave turned out to be his worst mistake, as Cyclic accidentally built a beast of a level. The gameplay was considered near impossible at the time, way tougher than Bloodbath, a map that was already the hardest in the game. So when he beat it, suspicion grew on Cyclic. The community looked to all the top levels he'd beaten in such a little amount of time. It was just too good to be true. And with his back against the wall, Cyclic would admit to cheating, just like Andromeda did. For the original light blue Sonic Wave that took over Poltergeist, he had used a verify hack to clear it. Usually, to upload levels, he gotta beat it once first, all the way from zero. But with this hack, he was able to skip this process entirely and throw the level right onto the servers, pretending he beat it legit. And for the updated dark blue version that was 10 times harder than Bloodbath, Cyclic used speed hacks to beat it. He then said that he'd step away from Geometry Dash to focus on schoolwork, but the disappointment wouldn't stop there, as in a conversation with Riot, Cyclic would confess to hacking everything, not just Sonic Wave. This sudden confession left players confused, including Riot himself. Nobody could believe that Cyclic hacked everything. The gameplay he posted up until Sonic Wave looked flawless with no holes whatsoever. Many speculated that Cyclic lied about cheating, as he wanted to get out of the Geometry Dash community and focus on real life, and lying about this would be an easy out. But with Cyclic's original YouTube channel, along with most of his footage, being lost to time, we may never know the full truth about this scandal. Many hoped that Cyclic would take Andromeda's routes and beat everything he hacked, but over the coming months, he'd gradually fade away from the community for good. With both of Riot's competitors being exposed as hackers, he was left as the undisputed best player in the game. It's a very impressive feat to play against cheaters and still win. As the game's competitive scene grew, better hack detection methods were developed. However, some cheaters would still slip through the cracks. You seem to be loving the video, so be sure to like and subscribe. It's only a couple clicks and you'll find more cool content like this. But anyway, let's continue on. It's 2019. A new contender for the game's hardest level has been created, Zodiac. Built by a huge group of 20 creators, it not only had tough gameplay, but it spanned an entire 3 minutes in length, making it a tough endurance test that called for the top skill in the game. With it being so difficult, it was a true challenge for the level's verifier, Xander. But with all his grinding, it was still taking a while for it to be beaten. But it had to get released. It had to. This level was the blood and sweat of a couple dozen creators, and he couldn't just let it be forgotten and abandoned like all those other failed extreme demons. So he did what many others have done in Geometry Dash history. He speed hacked it and passed it off as legit. After a supposed grind of 60,000 attempts, it was posted on the servers, and when it was verified, it claimed the #1 spot on the demon list. Geometry Dash had a new top 1. With Zodiac ruling over the demon list, a race began to become the first victor. The rising player Technical took a shot at it. With many top levels under his belt, he became a major force in the race, and after a month of grinding, Technical became the first victor of Zodiac.
I beat it! Oh my god! Oh my god, I beat Zodiac! Holy crap! No way! No way! No way!
His success vaulted him to fame, and it solidified his position as one of the greatest in the game. He had taken down Zodiac, and suddenly it didn't seem so hard after all. Technical's win was surely a surprise to Xander, and he finally decided it was time to come clean about his cheating. Xander's confession sent the community into a frenzy. Another hacked top 1 on the demon list? Are you serious? Zodiac would be taken off the list because of its illegitimate verification, but this sparked a bit of controversy. After all, Technical did manage to beat it legitimately, even though it was hacked onto the servers originally. So as things settled down, Zodiac would be placed back onto the #1 spot where it belonged. Technical had just vaulted the game into a new era, but never received the full praise, with Xander stealing the spotlight for themselves in a dishonorable way. You'd think the community would keep a better eye out for cheaters, but just a few years later, another hacking scandal would dominate the game. Fast forward to 2021, and another top level has taken the attention of the community, VSC. Challenge levels like this one are much shorter than normal maps, and truly push the difficulty limits of the game. To understand how tough VSC is, it's only 15 seconds long, but it's genuinely considered around the same difficulty as top 1s today. Just like Zodiac, VSC was hack verified by its creator, but despite this, interest in the level hadn't stopped. The uniquely difficult challenge caught the eyes of the entire community, with many players trying the level to see how far they can go, while the vast majority of them, including myself, couldn't even make it past the first click. 2 players took a serious interest in verifying the level, Connix and Yosarian. They'd go back and forth in progress, constantly one-upping each other and wowing the community in the process. With how tough VSC was, the thought of someone even coming close to beating it was a complete joke to the community until these two took a serious crack at it. Connix would make a huge stride in the race to beat it, with a record of 75%. Though, of course, knowing the topic of this video, you can probably tell that something was off with Connix. The only reason he was able to lead in this race was because he was secretly using a hack called no-clip accuracy. You know what no-clip is, right? It lets you phase through obstacles without dying. But no-clip accuracy makes you invincible, but each time you die, your accuracy drops, and if it gets below a certain point, you'll die for real. Connix using this hack on VSC was genius because he could essentially get a few extra lives in each run, and in a level with such tight spam and timings, this made all the difference. Nobody caught wind of it at all, cause VSC was such a dark map. Try spotting the no-clip in this. It was a modern tactic that broke away from the simple method old school hackers use where they'd speed hack a level and pray nobody would notice. Though he understood that if he were to fake on 100% completion using this method, he'd gain a lot of attention and eyeballs, and eventually someone would call him out. He had to figure out how to make a perfectly faked 100% run, as he couldn't let keen observers suspect anything. But before he could do that, Yasarian became the first to beat VSC, a feat that surprised the community who thought it was unbeatable. This shocked Connix. As though he had been cheating in the race to beat the level, he had been making some huge legitimate progress on the side, and in a way, he felt that he was destined to become the first to beat the level. So on the same very day that Yasarian cleared the once impossible map, a desperate Connix hopped onto his PC, quickly recorded a fake 100% run of VSC, and uploaded it. The footage was sloppy and sketchy, but maybe nobody would notice the hacks, and maybe he could get a share of the fame and success that Yasarian was enjoying. One VSC victor was already crazy, but two in one day? Now that was hard to believe. And though Connix's hacking method was hard to detect to the untrained eye, the experts picked up on it almost instantly, and Connix would have to admit his mistake to everybody. He was hugely regretful of his rather impulsive move, and not wanting to disappoint, he continued pushing on with VSC. It wasn't easy, and he poured tens of thousands more attempts into this stupidly difficult level. But almost a year after Connix posted the video that backfired on him, and with 400,000 attempts thrown in, Connix would beat VSC for real.
I beat it! I beat it! I beat it! I beat it!
Not many stories like this have happy endings, but Connix managed to follow what Andromeda did and repeat his cheated level. If you enjoyed this video, you'll like this one about Geometry Dash's weirdest levels. But anyway, I thank you for watching and I'll catch you later.